Hello and welcome back to the Linux Panic YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you what you should do after you install Manjaro Linux. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. So you're wondering, well, Nick, what should I do after installing Manjaro Linux? So let's just assume you have a clean install of Manjaro, as I do here, version 21.2.5. This is the latest version I currently have installed. And you're thinking, well, what should I do? There's many things you can do. But first, let's begin with changing how Manjaro downloads updates. Now you're probably wondering, Nick, why is this important? Well, I'll show you. So first off, you need to open up a command line, well, a terminal window. So in this case, we'll just hit that and we'll come here. I am using the X-Face version of Manjaro. You could be using the KDE variation. This will all work the same regardless. So we're going to enable a thing called parallel downloads, which is what it sounds. It allows you to download multiple updates at the same time. This isn't enabled in Manjaro by default, but it is a Arch Linux thing. So because Manjaro is a variation of Arch, we can just enable this in the download manager. So how to do that? We need to do cd/etc, and we need to look for a file called pacman.conf. Now, so as we can see here, pacman.conf, we want to open this up with a text editor of our choice. In this case, I'm going to use Nano, just because it's nice and easy to use. If you've not used Vim before, this would be a good alternative, but Vim is another text editor, but in this case, I'm just going to use Nano. So to open it, we're going to go sudo nano pacman.conf. It's going to ask for the password. It's going to say, yeah, this is you. Are you sure you know how to use this? Yada yada yada. We do. So once we've gotten the file, we need to look for this line here called parallel downloads. As we can see here, it's currently commented out. So what we need to do is just get rid of that hash, which then turns this text white, which means this is now active. And if you want to, you can change this number. In this case, I am going to change this number to 10. I'm not going to do that because I've just forgotten that doesn't like numpad. A lot of these terminal text editors do not like using the numpad, but that's fine. So in this case, I'm going to enable it to 10 because I have the internet speed to allow it. It may be worth keeping it at 5. It may be worth dropping it down to 2 or 3, or upping it depending on your internet speed and depending on how long you want to wait for things. Once that's done, you need to do Control X, Y, and then Enter, and then this will rewrite the file. So if we then just open it back up again and scroll back down, we should see a parallel downloads, which we do, which means that's working. Just going to leave it, and now we are going to update the system. Now, the reason why I waited until now to update the system is because I wanted to enable parallel downloads so we're not waiting around as long. This is useful if you want to just update things faster or don't want to wait as long. This isn't Windows after all. You don't have to wait an age to have updates downloaded and install and go through multiple restarts. It just works. So to update Manjaro, we need to do sudo pacman -syy, hit enter, and this is going to get the package databases, get all the packages from the various databases. I forgot the SYYU for the update. And now this will do the updates. As we can see here, there's only 10 packages that have been updated since the ISO that I used has been published. Now, this would be a perfect example to have a look at parallel downloads. As we can see here, it's just absolutely flowing through them. This would take a longer time to do if we were not using parallel downloads. As we can see, it's flying through them with no bother. So while we wait, I'm going to have a quick sip of my coffee. And this is all in real time. Now, as we can see here, this is just running at megabytes per second. That's fine. This will be affected by your internet speed and the server speed as well. It's all well and good having 1,000 megabytes worth of download and upload speed, but your internet speed doesn't matter if it's talking to a server that doesn't have that good of speed. So that's a key thing to remember when you're downloading things. Now, if you're torrenting ISO files, for example, like I torrented Manjaro, then things will just depend on the number of peers. That's how I got my this Manjaro install ISO, and I'm seeding the ISO because why not? It makes it faster to download. It's just a nicer thing to do. So whilst we wait for this to do, and it's just done, we're going to install Neofetch, which is a common tool used by people who use Linux to just see the operating system version. So to install Neofetch, we do sudo pacman-s Neofetch. Yes, and it'll be done. Now, as you noticed, I'm using pacman -s for installing things. This is based on Arch variations of Linux. Arch variations use pacman-s. It's different to the Debian variations such as Ubuntu, Debian, Mint, Cinnamon, all those ones that run off the Ubuntu variations. Now, once we've installed Neofetch, we just want to do Neofetch, and huzzah! Neofetch is supported across most, if not all, Linux variations. So you can see what the variations are. The uptime is 12 minutes. This is the kernel version. The host, as you can see, is currently virtual VMware. That's because of what I'm using to record this. Coffee break. Right. Now, we're going to enable the Arch user repository. This is it's the repository of like software packages and code that have been put together by the users of Arch to enable things. Now, I've used this in the past when I've installed the fonts necessary to get Steam working on Arch itself. You can find that a lot of the packages you use on Arch and Arch variations come from the user repository. So to enable that, we need to do pamac, which comes under add or remove software. Clicking on pamac does absolutely nothing. I don't know why that's there. But in this case, we're just going to go pamac. And it's under add or remove software. We click the three drop-down boxes, or three dots, hit preferences, enter your password. The reason why it's asking for the password is because it's saying, hey, look, this is a setting to make changes. Just be careful. We can change the parallel downloads inside of pamac. Now, this is different to just using the command line, so it's worth changing this as well. And now, for the third, to enable the Arch user repository files, you need to go third party and then click enable AUR. And we'll just enable all these. Check for development packages, keep built packages. So if you need to downgrade to an older version, you can do. It doesn't get rid of it immediately. And then from there, we just click this, and we're good. So let's just run pamac again. And remove software even. I get that sometimes. That's okay. And now let's look for a package that is on the Arch user repository. So let's look for the Audacium. If I spell Audacity. Now, what this is a open source version of Audacity that does not include the telemetry tracking that comes with Audacity as standard. There we go, Audacium. I didn't spell it correctly. Now, as we can see here, it comes under the AUR, as you can see here. It's just a telemetry free version, so it doesn't do any tracking, which Audacity didn't used to do until it got bought out, and now it tracks, which is a shame. So once we've done that, we just want to download it. Make sure I gave it the right password, which I didn't. And as we can see here, it's just going to make sure this is running fine, download the necessary packages, and then install it. Coffee break. So whilst that does, it's going to run perfectly fine in the background. Once it does that, we are going to enable proprietary drivers for NVIDIA graphics cards. Now, when it comes to using NVIDIA graphics cards, there are two types of drivers. There's the open source drivers, and then there's the proprietary drivers that NVIDIA releases. They are not open source, unfortunately, but they do work. So to do that, we need to go hardware. Ooh, I don't know what that was. Right, so we need to look for hardware configuration. Okay, apparently it beeps every time I do that. Right, so I do stand corrected. Maybe I need to look for display drivers. Well, there we go. Yep. So I was, as we can see here are display information. This might not be showing everything that's required because I'm currently running inside a virtual machine, but you would need to find your display drivers under hardware configuration and then just enable the drivers. Now, whilst this works here, we can just try and find it. Now, it's been a while since I've had to look for it myself because I have them automatically enabled on my Manjaro Linux install on my hard drive. But as we can just, in this case, I'm just going to leave it alone. You'd find the hardware configuration, just enable the proprietary driver install. But at the same time, why would you want to? Because it's proprietary drivers. You don't know what they could be doing. But it is safe. It's just if NVIDIA made open source versions, that would be much better. This is why I prefer using my AMD graphics card. Because I have an NVIDIA graphics card that sits on my server, and I have an AMD graphics card that sits in this machine here. So I don't need the proprietary drivers. Because the wonderful thing about AMD is they release open source drivers that just work. It's wonderful. So whilst we wait for this to finish, we can go through and check a couple other things. Now, for example, the audio. Now, whenever you come to use the audio in Manjaro, it can be a bit funky, but that's only down to something down to the software used for audio. It can be a bit funky, to say the least. As we can see here, this is just spitting out a load of junk in terms for us. Like it's just sound blast PCI. That's it. This is just what's enabled by the virtual machine. You can change all your things around, input devices, output configuration, all that fancy stuff. As we can see here, I'm not going to touch any of that, just because I don't want to touch it. Now, as we can see here, it's building Audacium. And then once that's done, we're just going to restart, and I'll show you one more thing before we call it here. As we can see here, it's just performing all the checks it needs to do, it's looking for everything it needs to do. And this is the thing that I like about using Linux. You can actually see what it's doing. Like, admittedly, you're going to have to scroll back if you want to check every single thing. But that's the wonderful thing with Linux. We can just see it working. Whereas Windows is just, accept the update, bend over. If it breaks the system, it breaks the system. I know that Windows Restore recently broke my father's Windows system, because he cloned his drive to just keep his cloned his Windows install from one drive to another. When cloning across, it can break Windows Restore, so you're then got to do entirely new reinstall. So that defeats the purpose of cloning a drive. That's just stupid on the behalf of Microsoft. Then again, Microsoft loves to make not user-friendly software, as Windows has done for many a time. Like going back to Windows 95, Windows 3.2, Windows 95. If you wanted to speed up your operating system, you'd have to reinstall and reformat, because the amount of gumph it just collected over time, just strewn all over the folders. It's insane. I'm just going to stop the install of Audacium because it's taking too long, and it just proved the purpose that I was looking for. We're just going to click cancel, close that, and then we're going to restart. Now we can restart with the command line. I'm going to do that, so I'm going to reboot now. And what this is going to do is just going to reboot. You will get a black screen like you do whenever you're rebooting an operating system. This is just part of the course. As we can see here, we're already booting into the operating system, and it is significantly faster than Windows. Now, by the time it would take for me to get to the login screen in Windows, it takes more time than this, because Windows is Windows and loves to take an age, and we're already here. Now, this is the thing here I was wanting to show you. Leave this launch at start selected, and then we can come click applications. This is going to give you a curated set of applications that you can install and use for your own purposes. It gives you an option of of browsers, in this case Vivaldi, Chromium, Midori, Firefox, Opera, and Opera. So in this case, we're gonna install Opera. Gives you a choice of email clients. As we can see here, Thunderbird is already installed. This is one of the most used open source versions. All Thunderbird is just a reskin of Firefox to look like a mail client. It works wonderfully. We have the choice of Office suites. As we can see here, this is your choice. It installs only Office by default. You can change it to install LibreOffice or Microsoft Office Online. Who would want to install Microsoft Office on an open source piece of software? Well, there you go. You've got Asian support or Asian language variation supports. You've got ebook readers. Why would you want to read ebooks on a computer when you can just either get a Amazon Kindle or feel the physical book? That's just my opinion on the matter. You got your text editors, which again is just what you could use in command line as well as just opening up scripts and the such. Printing. It comes installed with the printing package you need. The wonderful thing about Linux, I have found, you just tell it to print something and it just prints, no bother. The same with Mac OS. I have found in the past when I just wanted to print something and I didn't have the Epson printer drivers installed on my laptop, on my MacBook, it just told it to print. It found the printer over the network and just sent it through and worked. You can't get that with Windows because you need proprietary drivers and all that, and it's just a pain in the ass. But that's just a small annoyance. Anyway, you've got your PDF viewers. These can be useful if you're doing work with PDFs or just general office-based work with your operating system. You got your graphics creating, so stuff you can use to, well, video, photo editing, 3D modeling in the case of Blender. You've got a choice of things to do. GIMP comes installed with Manjaro. I like that. You've got your picture viewer, so if you've got photos and the such, which I do, I've got plenty of them. Videos and movies, you can install. You've got a choice of video players to use. VLC comes as standard, which is a wonderful piece of software. If VLC can't run it, nothing can run it. So there you go. That's just a thing to remember. Audio players, you've got Audacious, which is, again, a proprietary, it's a open source bit of software. It runs very nicely. You got Audacity. Personally, I would say avoid Audacity because, again, it has telemetry built into it since it got bought out, since the people who make Audacity got bought out, which is a pain. Now I could be wrong with that, but it's still, it does come with tracking, which is a pain in the ass. You've got your chat things. You've got Pigeon, so you've got your stuff that allows you to talk. You got your IRC. You got Telegram, WhatsApp, Slack, all that sort of stuff. Backup stuff, time shift. Remember, keep backups of everything. RAID is not backup. Remember that one. Look at Linus Tech Tips recently because they lost hundreds of terabytes worth of stuff because they were using RAID and not backups. Remember, RAID is not a backup. So you've clicked your applications and you decided you want to install Opera. Just click Update System, input the password, and then it's just going to synchronize the package databases. Does this every time you want to update, install something, and it'll just install. It should just install anyway. Well, it will do. It's just taking its time. Now, I didn't see this. This popped up behind it. I want open FFmpeg. This is just to allow playback, as you can see, of proprietary audio and video. That's perfectly fine. This is just telling you what it's going to install. So open FFmpeg and Opera. Just tell it to run. We'll check for anything that will conflict with it. As you can see here, it's 88.7 megabytes, and it is already done. In the time it took me to tell you how large it was done, which I love. It's perfectly fine. And there we go. Now if we go to Opera, give it a launch, we can close this down. This is going to want a password for the password keychain. This is just standard thing, and here we go. Here we have Opera. It's just doing the first time, hey, welcome, like, thank you. I prefer to have the Opera GX browser on Linux. That might actually push me across to using Linux full time. But anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to go check the Linux Panic website. As we can see here, I have a website now. It's very nice. I'll accept the cookies. That's just so I can know who's come from where, and I can just do a bit better tracking and a bit better customization. On the website, of course, there's videos, blogs about me, and just contact me if you want to contact me. Why not? Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to follow. Correction. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. To the person watching me on Apple TV OS, hello. Thank you for watching my videos. It's showing me you watch a lot of my videos, and so I'd like to say thank you very much for that. I'd like to thank my patrons, Raining, Hazmat, and Ashley, for being subscribed over at Patreon. You can subscribe for little as $1 a month, and you get early access to videos, such as this one. Anyway, thank you very much. You've been amazing. I've been Nick. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.